Honored to have Brigadier General Rob Spalding with us. War Without Rules is his best-selling, runaway best-selling book. And I was thinking of you, General, knowing there are no rules for what's going on now with this particular war, this tit for tat, where one country makes a move, then the expectation is that the other country responds, and there's no closure to that. What do you think this latest move by Israel triggers Iran to do? Because it's promised some response.
Well, I mean, they've already attacked Israel, so I'm not sure how much more they can respond or have a wider war. You know, it just brings me back to other things that are going on right now. So we have not nearly put as much pressure on Zelensky to stop the war with Russia as we put on Netanyahu to stop the war with Iran. And then look at this. We know that we need to go after his nuclear sites. We know that Israel has to respond, and yet we're restraining the Israelis from going after the nuclear sites in Iran. So I just have to wonder, what is our strategy here, and what are we trying to achieve? Israel is going to strike Iran. We know that. Why would we not take advantage of that?
Now, for the length of the attacks and everything, I believe almost 4 hours, it ended shortly before dawn in that region. We're told that they were really targeting these Russian-made S-300 air defense systems. But to your point, General, not going after key military and or nuclear sites, Donald Trump had said that would be a mistake. What do you think?
Absolutely. And I think there's something more important, that point that Donald Trump made in his podcast with Joe Rogan. He said, hey, look, Iran was broke. Iran was broke. And that was something that the United States did. So instead of being broke now, they are very wealthy. And, oh, by the way, they were forced to we told the Chinese, if you buy a single barrel of oil from the Iranians, you will not be able to trade with the United States. And so Iran was isolated, they were broke, and then the Biden administration came in and turned it all off. So, you know, in addition to the things that I just noted, we've created the problem that Israel has to now go solve.
So what happens in terms of reaction from more moderate Arab countries in that neck of the woods? Some of them have condemned Israel for this move, but not loudly or even very angrily. I'm wondering if it was just a politically correct, almost to be expected response, when you've reminded me, General, that some of these countries hate Iran more than Israel does.
Yes, and if you had cameras in the private spaces where those leaders are, it would look like the end of a soccer game, seeing those bombs go off in Iran. They'd probably be shooting AK-47s in the sky and just laughing and triumphing because Israel's actually going after Iran. They don't like the Iranians any more than Israelis do.
So where do you see this going if Iran plans, and I'm just taking it from their foreign minister, that it is looking at some calculated response. To your point, Israel was responding to that missile attack back on October 1st. But this is what I see happening, a new pattern here, where it never ends because there's a response to the response and then a response to that response, unending.
And I think that's the whole point, right? I think if we have an election that's coming up, if it goes one way, we're going to continue to see a never-ending series of wars in the Middle East, in Europe, in Asia. That's what we've seen. It just continues to escalate and doesn't really, it never ends. Or it goes another way, and perhaps it does come to an end because we start to dry up the money that's financing these wars, and we stop to supply money into them. So, you know, it's our strategy. We can do what we want with it, and either we're going to work to stabilize things, or we're going to continue to have chaos like we do today.
General Rob Spalding, very good seeing you, sir. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your incredible service to this wonderful country. Appreciate that even more.